Standard fantasy gives you magic. Dark fantasy gives you consequences. We're counting down 10 ruthless series filled with occult horrors, political backstabbing, and morally gray characters that will keep you hooked from the very first scene.
Each leaf represents a single demon. Once they begin to fall, the creatures of darkness will be released one by one. It has begun.
At number 10, we have the SHANNARA Chronicles. This is a dark fantasy series based on the novels by Terry Brooks. Set in the Four Lands long after the collapse of human civilization, the story follows Will Omsford, a half-elf who inherits powerful elf stones, as he is drawn into a critical quest that will decide the fate of the world. Alongside the last remaining druid Allanon and the elven princess Amberil, he must protect the Elcrease tree. If the tree dies, the demons sealed within the forbidding will return in full force. Austin Butler, Manu Bennett, and Poppy Drayton lead the cast. The series mixes coming-of-age adventure with a steadily growing supernatural threat and the burden of destiny. It holds an IMDb rating of 7.1 and is available to buy on Prime Video.
I've been charged with finding the man responsible for these attacks.
Killer's still out there.
She was taken by something unnatural. Neither man nor fae.
At number 9, we have Carnival Row. This is a dark fantasy series set in a Victorian-inspired city called the Burg. Orlando Bloom stars as Rycroft Philostrate, a detective investigating a series of brutal murders in a society where mythical creatures known as the Fae live as second-class citizens among humans. Cara Delevingne plays Vignette Stonemoss, a Fae refugee who becomes entangled in both the investigation and Philo's complicated past. The series explores prejudice, political tension, class conflict, and forbidden romance against a backdrop of growing unrest and dark magic. Its world feels lived in and morally compromised. It holds an IMDb rating of 7.7 and is available to stream on Prime Video.
A place in the shadows, rarely seen but deeply felt.
At number 8, we have Penny Dreadful. This is a gothic horror fantasy series. Eva Green stars as Vanessa Ives, a woman with powerful spiritual abilities who becomes drawn into a circle of characters pulled from classic literature, including versions of Victor Frankenstein, Dorian Gray, and a werewolf-afflicted American named Ethan Chandler. The series weaves these figures into a dark, atmospheric story of demons, possession, and the struggle between faith and damnation in Victorian London. Rich in tone and driven by strong central performances, it emphasizes psychological and spiritual horror as much as the supernatural. It holds an IMDb rating of 8.2 and is available to stream on Fubo TV.
You're a mutant. Created by magic. Roaming the continent.
We don't want your kind here.
Hunting monsters. For a price. I thought you'd have fangs or horns or something.
At number 7, we have The Witcher. This is a dark fantasy series based on the books by Andrzej Sapkowski. Henry Cavill originally starred as Geralt of Rivia, a mutated monster hunter navigating a world filled with political conflict, dangerous creatures, and constant moral ambiguity. The series follows Geralt, the powerful sorceress Yennefer, and the young Ciri as their paths become increasingly intertwined by destiny and larger forces. It emphasizes the cost of power, the brutality of the continent, and the difficulty of remaining neutral in a fractured world where every side carries blood on its hands. It holds an IMDb rating of 7.8 and is available to stream on Netflix.
That's your thing, then? You like to watch?
I've been watching you for some time now.
At number 6, we have Interview with the Vampire. This is a dark fantasy series based on the novel by Anne Rice. Jacob Anderson stars as Louis de Pointe du Lac, a vampire recounting his life story decades later, while Sam Reed plays the charismatic and volatile Lestat de Lioncourt. The series explores their intense, toxic relationship, the creation of the child vampire Claudia, and the emotional and moral consequences of immortality. Stylish, sensual, and often brutal, it leans heavily into character psychology, desire, and gothic atmosphere rather than simple monster stories. It holds an IMDb rating of 7.6 and is available to stream on Netflix.
You won't believe me, but it was a sun summoner.
At number 5, we have Shadow and Bone. This is a dark fantasy series based on the Grishaverse novels by Leigh Bardugo. Jessie Maylie stars as Alina Starkov, an orphan soldier who discovers she possesses the rare power to summon light. Pulled into the political and magical conflicts of the Kingdom of Ravka, she becomes central to the struggle against the Shadow Fold, a dangerous region of darkness filled with monstrous creatures. The series expands the world with multiple storylines involving thieves, soldiers, and powerful Grisha, exploring power, identity, and the corruption that comes with both. It holds an IMDb rating of 7.5 and is available to stream on Netflix.
This is our family story.
At number 4 we have Lovecraft Country. This is a dark fantasy horror series based on the novel by Matt Ruff. Jonathan Majors stars as Atticus Freeman, a young black man who travels across 1950s America and encounters both supernatural horrors and the everyday racism of the era. Alongside his friend Letitia and Uncle George, he becomes drawn into a mysterious family legacy connected to occult forces and secret societies. The series blends Lovecraftian monsters with social horror, using the supernatural as a lens to examine real-world terror and systemic violence. It holds an IMDb rating of 7.1 and is available to stream on Max. At number 3 we have Kingdom. This is a Korean dark fantasy horror series. Joo Ji-hoon stars as Crown Prince Lee Chong, who investigates the mysterious illness of the king in Joseon-era Korea, only to uncover a zombie plague spreading through the land. As the undead threat grows, he must also navigate deadly political conspiracies aimed at seizing the throne. The series combines historical drama with intense zombie action and sharp political intrigue, creating a distinctive blend of period storytelling and relentless horror. It holds an IMDb rating of 8.3 and is available to stream on Netflix.
I can't do this.
You must.
I will not sign it away.
At number 2 we have Chilling Adventures of Sabrina. This is a dark fantasy series that reimagines the classic character in a much darker register. Kiernan Shipka stars as Sabrina Spellman, a half-witch, half-mortal teenager who must choose between her dual natures while confronting dark forces tied to her family and the Church of Night. The series leans into occult horror, moral corruption, and gothic atmosphere rather than light teen drama. Across its seasons, it expands into larger supernatural conflicts involving ancient entities, deals with the devil, and the personal cost of power. It holds an IMDb rating of 7.4 and is available to stream on Netflix.
It's a trick. A shadow on the wall.
The same thing is coming for all of us.
And finally, at number 1 we have Game of Thrones. This is a dark fantasy series based on the novels by George R.R. Martin. Set across the continents of Westeros and Essos, the series follows multiple noble families as they compete for power, survival, and the Iron Throne while ancient threats rise in the north. With a vast ensemble cast and a focus on political intrigue, moral ambiguity, sudden violence, and shifting alliances, it became one of the defining fantasy series of its era. Its world remains one of the most fully realized and influential in television history. It holds an IMDb rating of 9.2 and is available to stream on Max. These series show the range of dark fantasy, from gothic horror and political intrigue to folklore-inspired violence and supernatural dread. Each one builds a world where power is dangerous, choices carry heavy consequences, and the line between hero and monster is rarely clear. If you're looking for dark fantasy that prioritizes atmosphere, tension, and moral complexity, start with any of these. Happy binge watching.